Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. A busy day with a lot of rumors that I needed to check before delivering the actual news to you. So, happy, what is it, Thanksgiving Eve? Do we say that? But if you're already on the other side of the world and you have Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. So, first things first, I'm not taking off this week. But we will be having our usual morning AM actual news tomorrow morning as planned. And then tomorrow evening, we're off, so we don't have actual news, but you will be still receiving your newsletter. So if you subscribe to newsletters, which I hope you are, honest.substack.com, you just got your actual news tonight. Tomorrow, you're going to get your actual news as well, and the morning live stream. And then Friday, we are back to normal. So morning live stream, evening live stream, and the actual news in between with the newsletter. Okay. So per usual, Saturday, Sunday, we're off. But every day I don't want to leave any vacuum for misinformation because a lot of things are happening in Europe and they don't have, unfortunately, Thanksgiving. And so I don't want to leave a day without actual news and leaving this space for misinformation because usually on the weekend, not much is happening. But on Thursday, certainly it does. And so this is my notion to still deliver the news without bothering you tomorrow with the actual news in the evening because you probably have better things to do. I would rather watch a Hallmark movie instead of my live stream tomorrow anyway. Hey Lisa, hello, bonsoir. Yes. Yeah, don't forget to set your scales back tonight. Indeed, right. So tomorrow evening, no live streams and no scales. Don't weigh yourself. Lisa is right. So of course, President Biden proclaimed Thursday, November 28th, as a national day of Thanksgiving. Obviously, but I wanted to read out a sentence he mentioned, quote, "I encourage the people of the United States of America to join together and give thanks for the friends, neighbors, family members, and communities who have supported each other over the past year in a reflection of goodwill and unity." And certainly, I know this year hasn't been easy. I know the next year and maybe next four will not be easy. So let's enjoy while we have it. Today I got sort of this preview as to what kind of reality show we're going to be in. And if you care about sources, so whenever I tweet something or I say something or write something in a newsletter, I need at least two sources. And I don't consider an account on Twitter or somewhere as a source. I consider either official administration, either officials from administration, or readouts, or press office release, or I'm calling a person who knows that type of stuff. Or it is released by, let's say, CNN because they conducted that type of interview, or any other official, official source. Okay, so for this reason, it was a preview today, so about rumors. So let's enjoy while we're at it. Now, also, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin today called a bunch of different locations. And so this week, Secretary Austin, well, today actually, reached out to U.S. service members stationed both at home and abroad through video calls and phone conversations, and to express gratitude and offer encouragement during the holiday season. So he was drawing back on his own experience of 41 years of military experience. And so, if you were to know Secretary Austin, he is not business per usual. He's very much caring about the whole being, like the well-being as a person as a whole when it comes to any service member, regardless where they're finding themselves, in a ranking or whatever. He just cares that everybody feels heard, understood, and appreciated. And so this was a mix of talking about, Thanksgiving meals and football predictions and how's everybody doing, and the family situation. Perhaps they're away from family. So whenever he was conducting a call, everybody was introducing themselves, telling who they are, what they do, what their passion is, what their interests are. And then, of course, they also, he underscored you know, their importance of being present in the Indo-Pacific, being present in Europe. They talked about the situation in Ukraine and the situation with Taiwan, and he just wanted to underscore the importance of what they're doing. And so when it comes to, and full readout is in your email tonight. So that's the locations he spoke of, and this is a screenshot of him speaking tonight anyway. So U.S. Space Force, 4th Space Operations Squadron in Colorado. Then he spoke to U.S. Marine Corps in Japan, U.S. Navy in Stockdale, also U.S. Air Force in Qatar, U.S. Army in in Poland as well. So again, as I mentioned, it was at home and abroad, and so he just made sure that he speaks to troops. Now, an interesting tweet from Governor Walz. I'm not from Minnesota, and I'm a softie, so this is not for me, but perhaps you'll find it interesting or funny even. Governor Walz tweeted retweeted an article about him where charismatic Turkey fails to win pardon from Governor Walz. Minnesota's chief executive returns to annual Thanksgiving ceremony that spares no birds from their dinner plate fate. And he says, "Your days are numbered, my friend." Difficult for me, but I guess, that's what happens in Minnesota. Okay, so next, National Economic Advisor today, Lael Brainard, spoke on October 2024 PCE and third quarter 2024 GDP, which is big news. And this is economy, and I want to talk about it because this is on Joe Biden's record. This has nothing to do with anything that comes next, as much as we probably will hear about it, all twisted. Now, quote, today's data show inflation has fallen to 2.3%, back from 2.6. So now it's 2.3 in October, similar to the level before the pandemic, while our economy has continued to expand by nearly 3% per year. And then they spoke about how folks are earning about $4,000 more than they're spending. Also, the gas prices are around $3 or even less in 17 states, or actually 30 states. So this is all going to Joe Biden's record, Biden-Harris administration. Now, when it comes to Trump, first of all, the day started with him posting that they had un-American threats. And I believe when people are threatened, and I wish everybody to be safe, and I don't, I condemn any type of threats or violence. Put it out of the way. What I have a bit of an issue with, as we only got this statement from the Trump press office, from his speaker, the young lady who will be the White House speaker, or spokesperson. She tweeted, or she put that statement that they had un-American threats to Trump and his newly appointed folks, right? Who were nominated, who will have to be confirmed, right? And so the news went wild with this, reporting breaking news on television and written format online, but their only source was that email. That is my question here. And I'll tell you why. And again, if it's real, I condemn it, and I'm all for everybody being safe. He has been voted in. He won the election. I'm not claiming anything. Yes, I do have questions about fake bomb threats and questions about swing states and all that kind of stuff. But this, aside from that. Now, I do have a question as to FBI did release some type of statement saying they're condemning any type of violence. But we are lacking serious investigation, or if there is investigation, we're lacking results, starting from the first assassination attempt to the second allegedly assassination attempt. Who was shot? Was the ear, who touched the ear? We have absolutely no information. So while we're waiting on that, we're presented with many more news that come from one source and one source only, and we still have questions. If we are literally finding ourselves in this banana republic where a presidential nominee, now president-elect, is being targeted nonstop, why don't we have data? Why don't we have research? Why don't we have results? So on one hand, there were complaints about a lack of security. Then yesterday, I covered it extensively. I read it out on Twitter or the TikToks. I covered it in newsletter. I covered it on live stream in the morning, in the evening. There was this memorandum of understanding, which should replace the usual and actually legal ethics form that Trump did not want to sign, where he claimed that we don't want to rely on your building security system. We have our own security. We have our own system. We're fine. We don't need background checks. We're good. So now comes this. What, do you need security? You don't need security. You're safe. You're not safe. And so if this is real, we need to condemn. We need to figure out what the deal is. Now, if it is used in some type of way to, let's say, start the talk about people not being secure, and so we need martial law, where military takes over because somebody's being targeted nonstop. Again, to prevent that, we need results now. This is not funny. This is a president-elect who will be in power on January 20th. And then help us God and help him God. So what has been tweeted, that's what I can show you. On the left, you see there's a bunch of articles, all relate to this press release. That's their only source. So on the right, then we see Pete Hegseth. That's the Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, who said, this morning, a police officer arrived at our home where our 7 children were still sleeping. The officer notified my wife and I that they had received a credible pipe bomb threat targeting me and my family. We are all safe and the threat has been cleared. We want to thank law enforcement for their professionalism and bravery. I will not be bullied or intimidated. Never. President Trump has called on me to serve, and that's what I intend to do. Okay, now you need to be also appointed. You need to be also confirmed by the Senate. Now, I have also that in the newsletter that Trump does not want to go even through the background checks by the FBI before January 20th, and especially before he appoints his own head of FBI. He sees it as a deep state conspiracy since the times when the results about the Russia cahoots were received during his first term. So he's not going to do this before he appoints the head of the FBI, which is also a lot of question marks. Now, next, he also openly states that he wants to extend the vacation for the Senate, and so that on January 20th, there's nobody to approve those nominees, so he can just roll them in. Again, we still have an administration. I would love to have questions and answers. And I understand holidays and all, but this is expediting at, enormous speeds, which none of it is usual and none of it is normal. So can we please have answers? So again, nobody is targeted and nobody is tweeting that they're in danger, because that's not okay. That's certainly not okay. Lisa says, I just love turkey, Olga. Yeah, Pete Hegseth posted that it was his family. I showed it to you. Yes. Hey, Amy, hello. Avoiding another Flynn episode. Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, right. I totally believe this happened. I answered eye roll. Yeah. Live search app. Hello. Not sure how the threat was made, but the phone system needs to be overhauled so we can easily trace phone threats. It is so easy to spoof numbers. Exactly. Right. And then, to your point, we need answers. We need research. We need answers, right? Whether you do support Trump or you don't support Trump, don't you care that something is allegedly happening? And I'm not saying it is fake, but can we please have research? Can we have investigation? Can we have results? Can we be briefed? Because if it's like a loud press release and that's it. We're not talking about it anymore until the next press release. That just really uncommon to say the least. Now, in terms of tariffs, Uh, so yesterday, was it yesterday? I don't even know anymore. Anyway, this week, Trump um, put out a statement in two tweets that he wants to impose 25% of tariffs on Mexico and Canada because of the fentanyl that is crossing the borders, plus caravans, right? No idea what the hell is happening with caravans in Canada, but with Mexico, he claims there are caravans. Okay. Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, wrote a letter. I put it online. I put it in a newsletter. I read it out. I put it as a video. I covered it yesterday. So if you're not familiar, please find any resource. It's everywhere. I put it everywhere in all forms. So in that letter, she explained that the fentanyl problem is the consumer problem in the United States. The chemicals are coming illegally from China. So they're coming from Asian countries. Now, President Biden did talk about that with President Xi. They also talked with Chinese presidency. They also reduced that number by 80% through the years. That's what they literally have celebrated by meeting just a week ago at the in Peru, in Lima. So that's the question here. Now, caravans. There is a system that is prohibiting those caravans. The the border crossings are now 40% lower than during Trump administration. This is because of President Biden's executive order he put in law, or he signed into law in May, right? Limiting the number of crossings. Also, the app has been introduced where people can get their forms processed faster. And so either let go or let in faster. This exists since last year. So all of that pretty much was pointed by Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, in that letter. And it was a fierce letter. It said that, look, your guns are coming to Mexico. 70% of guns in Mexico that are illegal coming from the United States. We're not producing guns. We're not using fentanyl, but it's coming for you. So this is the problem we need to negotiate and talk about, right? So today they speak on the phone. Then he goes along and tweets. And obviously he turns around, flips around the tweets. Where do I have the tweets? Okay, is it this? No. Just a second. We'll get there. Do I have the tweets? Oh, I have probably a readout from the tweets. Anyway, so in his tweets, here, I didn't upload. Let me see if I have it here, because I need to read those tweets. That's this type of day today. We'll get there. I have them. Any questions that you have, please put up and I'll address them. I probably have this thing here. Okay, here we go. So he puts up those tweets after having talked to her here. This is his press release. He says, just had a wonderful conversation with the new president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. She has agreed to stop migration through Mexico and into the United States, effectively closing our southern border. We also talked about what can be done to stop the massive drug inflow into the United States and also US consumption of these drugs. It was very productive conversation. Mexico will stop people from going to our southern border, effective immediately. This will go a long way towards stopping the illegal invasion of the USA. Thank you. Now, the whole shit show, for lack of better word, begins because he says effectively closing the border. We are a night before Thanksgiving. So companies that flying people across the border back and forth, that are driving people, they start sounding alarm. Is the border closed? What the hell happens? Because 80 million people in the United States are set to travel, legally to travel. So all of this goes nuts. Claudia Sheinbaum tweets again. Where do I have it? Yes. Just a second. Yeah, so she tweets, she says, in our conversation with President Trump, I explained to him the comprehensive strategy that Mexico has followed to address the migration phenomenon, respecting human rights. Thanks to this, migrants and caravans are assisted before they reach the border. We reiterate that Mexico's position is not to close borders, but to build bridges between governments and between peoples. Then she goes again. She says, we're not closing the border. The border is functioning per usual. All good. So that is what's with Mexico. And that's what went down back and forth, you know. Really weird. I just said, listen, my comment is when you elect a reality star, you end up with a reality show. So he's been cast to be a reality star, and he has the whole cabinet of other reality star personalities, and that's what we're going to have. And the problem is that the leaders will have to deal with this. And thank God we have such good neighbors, State Farm. I have in my head. Anyway, we have such good, wise neighbors. Imagine we had somebody like Kim Jong-un or Putin or somebody who would just use this opportunity to just knock us out. Now, what about Canada? I showed it in the morning. I want to show it again. Deputy Prime Minister of Canada and Financial Minister of Canada, she spoke out and she addressed Trump and she addressed the tariffs, literally using the opportunity now on video to educate him why this is a bad idea. Take a look.
So last night, the Prime Minister had a conversation with President-elect Trump. It was an opportunity to highlight the fact that the economic relationship between Canada and the United States is balanced and mutually beneficial. The fact is, we need them, and they also need us. Canada is the largest market for the U.S. in the world, larger than China, Japan, the UK, and France combined. It is also the case that the things we sell to the United States are the things they really need. We sell them oil, we sell them electricity, we sell them critical minerals and metals. The energy the United States imports from Canada is more important today than ever, and Canada's critical minerals and metals are absolutely essential as North America and as the U.S. seeks to develop supply chains which are resilient and secure.
And so this Deputy Prime Minister name is Chrystia Freeland. Her mother is an immigrant from Ukraine. Hence, her children are going to Ukrainian school. She also addressed Ukrainians in Ukrainian recently, and I played that video. So certainly, thank God we have wise people up and down, north and south. Woo! Hey, Bonnie. Hello. Hello. You just missed my story about, well, anyway, Mexico and reacting. Anyway, so next, Trump did appoint or nominated General Keith Kellogg, let's call him Super K, I guess, as special envoy to Ukraine and Russia. This is what he says. I'm very pleased to nominate General Kellogg to serve as assistant to president and special envoy for Ukraine and Russia. Keith has led distinguished military and business career, including serving in highly sensitive national security roles in my first administration. He was with me right from the beginning. Together, we will secure peace through strength and make America and the world safe again. Okay, so stories aside, here's what this guy's plan is for Ukraine, because I saw so much, false hope by Ukrainians and taking his words out of context and he's going to save us and all that kind of stuff. So here's the deal. Former President Trump has announced a nomination, right? Kellogg is a retired U.S. Army general and former national security advisor to Vice President Mike Pence. is known for his bold proposals for addressing the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. His approach, particularly his Srebrenica plan, aims to bring an end to the war that began in 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. Kellogg's proposed plan for ending the war involves freezing the current battle lines and bringing both Kiev and Moscow to a negotiating table. Under his plan, Russia would retain control over the territories it has occupied, while Ukraine would adopt a neutral stance, disarming itself and relying on European Union peacekeepers for protection. Okay? The plan seeks to create a diplomatic path to peace while acknowledging that the challenging realities of the conflict. So, let's take a break here. You live with somebody who is raping you daily. Sorry, I have to say, call the thing a thing. And so, in order to maintain peace, because your neighbors are not really happy that it's loud because you're screaming and biting and trying to defend yourself every night, let's seek diplomatic solutions. So he's going to occupy your bedroom, and you have to stop biting and screaming and just rely on just a good conversation. Just imagine that would be your situation. What you going to do? So this aside, and I reported it yesterday, Russia has said, we're not interested in this. We want capitulation of Ukraine. We want to take it all. We're not interested in talking. So in order to negotiate, you need two sides to sit at the damn table. So what are those proposals for? Now, to encourage Russia participation in negotiations, Kellogg proposes delaying Ukraine's NATO membership for an extended period in exchange for comprehensive and verifiable peace deal that includes security guarantees for Ukraine. Now, Ukraine got denuclearized. It was second nuclear power in Europe. It gave the nukes away in 1994 at the Budapest or with the Budapest Memorandum, and it got guarantees that it will never be attacked by the United States, by UK, and by Russia. What is Russia doing since 2014? Taking away Crimea, and then invading, full-scale invasion in 2022, in February 23rd. What are those, guarantees? What you going to guarantee here? By whom? By the rapist? So while Ukraine would not be expected to abandon its goal of regaining all territory seized to Russia, so we still want the bedroom, but the plan advises that Kiev should focus on diplomatic means and acknowledge that the recovery of these lands may take years. Kellogg's strategy also suggests partial sanctions relief for Russia as an incentive for Kremlin to move toward peace, alongside the introduction of some Russian energy exports to help fund Ukraine's long-term reconstruction. So I guess since they're going to take all the territory they have damaged, now we should allow them to trade, so they can rebuild Ukraine the way they envision it. Anyway, I leave you up to thinking what I think about it, but that's the guy. Now, Reuters reported that U.S. Senior administration officially has suggested for Ukraine to lower mobilization age to 18 years old. So a senior U.S. official said that this could change the situation on the front. Quote, "What matters now is manpower. The Russians are indeed making steady progress in the east, gradually pushing back Ukrainian forces near Kursk. Mobilization and an increase in the number of troops can significantly affect the current situation on the battlefield," unquote, he said. Ukraine has been fighting for almost 3 years. If you think that the number of 18-year-olds is in millions there who are just sitting there and playing Nintendo or whatever kids play these days, that's not the fact. So, and also being pushed from where? From Kursk? Kursk is Russia. Ukraine crossed the border to show the Western partners that those so-called red lines are bullshit, that Putin is, imposing, that Putin did not even protect his territory for months until the help from North Korea arrived in terms of soldiers and weapons and missiles and drones and Chinese drones. So, if Ukraine certainly is lacking manpower, then probably other countries have to be, involved. Those countries who would be next if Ukraine were to fall, which is Baltic states, which is Poland. So UK already announced, if you need us, we're going to be there. And then that's the very different story for Russia. So Lavrov, and you're going to read now the subtitles, please. So Lavrov is this foreign minister of Russia for 100 years. And so he addressed U.S. in terms of how Biden is allowing Ukraine to use ATACMS. So this is in Russian with subtitles in English. Okay, so come closer, please. Take a look.
Ведь удары продолжаются вот этими атакамсами, об этом Минобороны заявляет.
Ну, у нас есть много пословиц, которые отражают характер нашего народа. 7 раз отмерь, 1 раз отрежь. Господь терпел и нам велел. Но терпение обязательно, если его испытывают бесконечно, оно завершается. Еще одна пословица, которая должна в данной ситуации быть в мозгах у западных чиновников, это русский мужик долго запрягает. Ну, дальше, уверен, зритель знает.
It takes a long time for a Russian man to get going, and then you know what comes. This is a foreign minister of Russia. I gave you that example with the bedroom, not for kicks and giggles. This is how they think. Bonnie, yeah, you set the alarm, you didn't get it. Yeah, I think with the alarm on YouTube, you have to tap for every single video, notify me, and then it will it never notifies me, even though I'm subscribed to notifications. So my apologies about that. So Amy says, so Trump wants to create a power vacuum. Yeah, I mean, he just cares about headlines. This is a reality show star who wants headlines every day. Your show is just more successful if it's in the headlines. Think about Kardashians. Why they made themselves a replica of a black woman, right? Different installing parts, and then now they're taking them out. It's a new trend. It's like hair is different, lips, butts, Ozempic, this, that. We have lipstick, we have noses, we have this, we have earrings, we have butts, we have more bigger butts. Why? Because all of that stuff promotes that reality show. And when people watch the reality show, they also promote the products. So that's how they come up with millions of dollars for the entire family a year, hundreds of millions of dollars. So, but that's their business. And, you don't want to watch Kardashians, don't watch Kardashians. By the way, Kim Kardashian is now MAGA, and she's promoting Tesla and hanging out with MAGA folks, with the Trump, with the, what's her face? Ivanka Trump and all that kind of stuff. So that's their business. I understand they want to use their bodies to be a part of it. Now we're using government to run a reality show. If you want a headline, you're going to do this mess. And then in his eyes, any publicity is good publicity. And that is where we are, and this is dangerous. And for now, thank God we have neighbors that have brain, that are women who are poised and who can say, Donnie, no, Donnie, no. Now, what I forgot to tell you though, but good question, Amy. Thank you so much for that. She's been hanging with Ivanka for years. Yeah, but now it's public. And it's she's recording, but I'm not showing it to you because I don't want to promote it. A bunch of ads with this Tesla robot. Like she does the hearts, like the Tesla robot does half of the heart with the hand, and she does another one. She does like a naked butt thing in front of that robot, and she's in bed with the robot. And the entire thing going on with the Tesla robot. So. Bonnie says, I never got the fascination with the Kardashians. Neither did I. I tried to watch it once and I just can't. This is not the pace for me. So, but I understand the business. And if somebody is successful in business, I do respect it. Okay, that's their thing. They're not in my face. So, they do what they want to do. So that thought I heard Elon's voice. I don't know. I mean, I don't watch it that close. I just, Anyway, now I showed you the video about the Canada talking about tariffs and why it would be a bad idea for US to impose tariffs on Canada. Remember, she spoke about oil, right? So Trump says today that he does not intend to spare crude oil from his planned 25% import tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Sources told Reuters on Tuesday, as the oil industry warned the policy could hurt consumers, industry, and national security. So he heard what Canada said, and it got him an idea, gave him an idea to actually impose now everything on oil. Meanwhile, Canada said, we are selling to you. So if we were to impose, which we will do, right? That's how trade wars start. You impose tariffs, you get tariffs imposed towards you. And here we go. And who suffers? Us. Okay, so next, so MAGA real quick. RFK Jr. is not thrifting. I have it in my head. I wish he was thrifting. He is grifting. So this is an email today. He says, your contribution today will help retire his debt so Bobby can focus entirely on his fight without distractions. Help retire Kennedy debt. Together, we can close his chapter and move forward with hope and determination, knowing that we're on the right side of history. So what is he fighting? Who knows? Maybe he's fighting vaccines or the worm. Who knows what he's fighting? But he wants your donation towards this fight. Now, Musk will be speaking to Congress as advertised by Speaker Johnson. He tweeted, looking forward to hosting Musk and Vivek next week on Capitol Hill to discuss major reform ideas to achieve regulatory rescissions, administrative reductions and cost savings, and revive the principle of limited government. Trump made that possible. Well, yes, that's true. Well, non-elected officials, Musk and Ramaswamy, will be on Capitol Hill on December 5th, which is an important discussion, and save the date for Republican House and Senate members. Location will be disclosed separately. Well, Musk, though, when it comes to tariffs, he became very, very, very confused. So he began tweeting about fentanyl. So I spoke to you about that tweets that Trump put out yesterday. 25% to combat fentanyl crisis, blah, blah, blah. So Musk tweets in response to Trump's tweet that price of fentanyl will rise sharply. So here's my question. He thinks that the illegal drugs that are being trafficked inside US are falling under tariffs, and their price is going to go up because they're being declared. So here's my other question. First, interesting that you're fascinated with the drug issue here, not the caravans or anything else. Economy, your cars, Tesla cars, are imported from China. Also, there's another factory in Mexico. How about that? All that kind of stuff. Lost workplaces for people, unemployment. You're not worried. Cool. Now, are you combating the fentanyl stuff, right? Because they're saying we're imposing tariffs, so this will stop. Or are you celebrating that fentanyl, the price will go up, which means you will what? Legalize it? So now you will collect tariffs on drugs? What's your way of thinking here? Very interesting and disturbing. Now, speaking of billionaires, Mark Zuckerberg kissed the ring at Mar-a-Lago today. He met with Trump, New York Times reported. Now, what Musk is also doing, he's doxing, literally, federal employees. So he says, so many fake jobs, and then reposts to his 200 million followers plus, literally names, like Director of Climate Diversification, and there's Ashley Thomas in Washington, D.C., and they're saying, well, so many fake jobs has to go. And then he uses those, our pretty much national heroes, Vindman brothers, who leaked information about that phone call that Trump made to Zelensky, asking to get dirt on Biden in return for help. And so they're saying Vindman, who has been elected now, is on the payroll of Ukrainian oligarchs and has committed treason against the United States, for which he will pay the appropriate penalty. Now, Vindman Brothers tweeted that, listen, why don't you have better things to do? Today's Thanksgiving. Why aren't you thankful for your blessings? Go spend time with your loved ones. Good answer. But very interesting that now we're putting names and, it just puts people in such situation where they can be targeted. This is not for kicks and giggles. Those are federal employees, private citizens. They do not deserve to be washed, on social media and be like the dirty laundry that we're using to prove some scammy, idea or conspiracy. Now, I have 2 videos for you about the media, right? Musk is the media now, he says, and all that kind of stuff, right? Certainly influences media a lot. Now, Alec Baldwin, and I showed it to you in the morning, and I want to show it now. He is in Italy. And at a conference, he spoke about our state of media. Now, you might like or hate Alec Baldwin, and yes, there's a situation and with the lady that passed away, Ukrainian, by the way. Let's leave that aside. Just focus on the message, because it does, I believe, have a point. Take a look.
In my country, without going into significant detail, half the people in the country are happy and half the people in the country are very unhappy. It's a very difficult time in the United States. And I think the only way people can learn what is happening, and film is unique in this way, not only what's happening in the United States, but around the world. What's happening, you might not learn from the news. Television news in the United States is a business. They have to make money. And again, not to go into great detail about that, but there's a hole, there's a vacuum. There is a gap, if you will, in information for Americans. Americans are very uninformed about reality, what's really going on. With climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it, all the biggest topics in the world, Americans have an appetite for a little bit of information. That vacuum is filled by the film industry, not just the independent film industry, not just the documentary film industry, which are very important around the world, but by narrative films as well, where the filmmakers and the buyers, the studios and the networks and the streamers are willing to go that way, and they're willing to try to make films that are not only entertaining, but informative as well. So I think right now is probably one of the most significant times in our history, since film began, since the film experience began. It became an art form, it became a business, a huge business. Now is probably one of the most important times in our history for us to make films that will teach people about what reality is around the world.
Grazie mille, faccio io una domanda, poi dopo
And so really that nails the point. That's the bullseye. That news is now first, it's a business first, and second, it's an art form. Because whatever, and social media plays and algorithms play such role, because if you're in a bubble where you believe that the world is flat, I shared it with you on social media. There's somebody with millions of views who was like on Alex Jones and Joe Rogan podcast and all this shit. Sorry. Anyway, all those programs, podcasts. Anyway, his agent pitched the interview with me, and to him, and saying, "Oh, it's going to boost my numbers tremendously, bigly. He's flat earther. It's going to show you models, how Earth is flat, surrounded by Antarctica ice and all this crap. That ISS is fake and space travel is fake and all this kind of stuff." So if you believe in that and you plant it in this bubble, any social media you open, once you start liking stuff, it's like that dating app, right? That asks you, can you scroll left and right and a couple of guys so we know what you like? And so every single guy is going to look exactly the same. So that's the same story here. You like something, you comment on something. Now you're in this bubble. You open TikTok, bubble. You open Instagram, bubble. Earth is flat. You open television, you watch then the channel that corresponds with your worldview, that it is flat. And so you live in this thing where Earth is flat. And then you go and stand in line to buy coffee somewhere, if you believe in coffee, next to a guy who thinks Earth is round. But you don't talk about Earth at this point, so you can coexist. But as soon as maybe you're waiting on that coffee and there's television thing that shows like a rocket going in space, and you're like, that's Hollywood again. And so you start talking. That's where you start fighting. But once you leave that fight, you're back in your bubble. So you believe everybody else is against you because you've been planted in this bubble. And Hollywood plays a huge role. Yesterday, randomly, I'm watching a Hallmark movie because before I go to bed, I need to slow down my brain. So that's what I do. MAGA movie, literally MAGA movie. It's a lovey-dovey romance, but it talks about how she was guided by God and she takes her cross, and then you go by God, and then and then the politics is God, and you have to create Jesus coming back. Hallmark movie with cute actors and everything, and it was about it's a miracle in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, swing state, and all about God and Jesus and how everybody's coming back to save them. So it's a bubble. You are planted in this bubble. So we need to understand that the media, online, on television, it's an art form. It's an entertainment. Fox News is official entertainment channel. I believe me, CNN is entertaining. It's entertainment. If they were to report the news, you probably would hear what I'm saying here. And it's not because I'm, whatever. I'm just reading the news, doing my research, reporting it to you. I don't hear it elsewhere. I wish I would. That's why I started this stuff. It's not easy, morning, evening, writing letters, whatever. But I see news as a news, as something you need to rely on, as your guidance for making your decisions. You hear that the tariffs are coming up. Okay. You then hopefully readjust your behavior. You hear that Medicaid might be a way. You adjust your behavior. You hear that somewhere, during Biden administration, your student loans will be forgiven. You adjust your behavior. So news are needed as guidance. Same way you use your Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever. TomTom, it was before, right? Or like a physical map. You need guidance or you are clueless. And if you're clueless, you're going to be in danger, constantly bouncing from one to another. There's, one type of bad situation, then another one. So we need news. This is important. Plus, news also checks those elected officials so they can at least deliver partially on the promises they made us who elected them and sent them to DC or to the capital in your state or to the, your city hall in your town. So news is important. For me, actual news is love language. That's how I care. I provide actual news. I bothered my family constantly until, I was advised to bother you now. So newsletters read by 32 countries now. People are thankful, from Indo-Pacific. Suddenly people are signing up and saying, thankfully, we get information, because a lot of misinformation is happening. Again, it's not to toot my horn. I'm just telling you that the information is needed and information is rare. And we need to be vigilant whatever you consume. And yes, it does include your movies. It does include what your kids are consuming when it comes to, Dora the Explorer or whatever. Russian movies, Masha and the Bear, very much popular on YouTube, translated into English. Russian propaganda to the bone. So check it. Also, you have kids, they're on social media, check what their algorithms are showing them, because you're building their mindset. We are all building our mindset, but imagine next generation. How this from the river to the sea situation came about. TikTok, again, new bubble created. And now that affected our election because people were, thinking some type of way. And when you add AI on top of it, then we're in totally different stratosphere. Because now I can put whatever I want and create it with the same actors, different story with the same actors, so different reality. So for this reason, let's be very conscious what we consume. Now, talking about Joe Rogan, this is the boss, Australian Broadcasting Corporation boss, Kim Williams, who answered a question about Joe Rogan effect. Now, this is in Australia in the National Press Club. Take a look.
I have a question about Joe Rogan, and you've sort of touched on elements of this in the US. He's obviously the world's most popular podcast host. He has 3 billion listeners. He's sort of managed to successfully capture that bro market in America. And his influence is such that in the wake of the US election, the Democrats have said that one of Kamala Harris's mistakes was that she didn't appear on his program. So I'm just wondering if you had any observations about what's behind the Joe Rogan effect, how you believe he's managed to so successfully capture this huge market. And then for us here in Australia, you know, how would or should the ABC be going about capturing that kind of audience?
Look, I'm not sure that I'm the right person to respond to that question. I am not a consumer or enthusiast about Mr. Rogan and his work.
Shocking.
I am not one of the 3 billion, and I'm unlikely to be 3 billion and one anytime soon. I think people like Mr. Rogan prey on people's vulnerabilities. They prey on fear. They prey on anxiety. They prey on all of the elements that contribute to uncertainty in society, and they entrepreneur fantasy outcomes and conspiracy outcomes as being a normal part of social narrative. I personally find it deeply repulsive, and to think that someone has such remarkable power in the United States is something that I look at in disbelief. I'm also absolutely in dismay that this can be a source of public entertainment when it's really treating the public as plunder for purposes that are really quite malevolent.
See? And that happens everywhere. That's why whenever I spoke with like foreign ministers or, you know, that office in Germany, they're saying, we have elections, we have misinformation everywhere. So that is my, you know, I always wonder, how could Russia or anything infiltrate our democracy and really try to take it apart from within, you know, without using a single bullet, but by influencing us to choose propaganda, to choose to lose democracy, compromise it. So how? And so they infiltrated our brain, you know, like Hollywood was very dominant in the US, right? Social media did change that. Now people are celebrities, their own, right? In their own right. You have your followers, you're a celebrity. How many people are now hired by television shows because they have a following, right? So we're not, the paparazzi is pretty much jobless. Nobody's watching what, Angelina Jolie or, Jennifer Aniston is doing or Brad Pitt is doing. When was the last time you even saw them, unless you're really into entertainment? But this whole spectrum changed. So now we have Joe Rogan, who is a celebrity. But now we're going to the next phase where now this celebrity is now the news. Now he's an expert. Now CNN is full with people with opinions. You know, it's the same as if you go to a business school and somebody teaches you about business who never, ever opened a business in his or her or their life. Just read it somewhere, you know, passed a test, has an opinion on businesses, hence teaches you about businesses. That's the culture we're in. That's why we have a lot of coaches and online this and online that. So again, my point is, let's not dive into negativity. Decision power is in your hands. Switching off CNN doesn't do any justice as long as you keep paying for your cable bill. That's what gets them money, not really you switching it on or off. You subscribing to New York Times just because you do it for tens of years. This is your breakfast. You get your paper, you read it. You still feed them. even if you will, use it to, roll some, fish into it. Like that, if you keep sponsoring it with your money and with your time, it will grow. Decision power is in our hands. Okay? That's just what I want to say. Now, quickly, because it's getting late. Now, U.S. sanctioned today Maduro allies. Remember Maduro, who did not win the election in Venezuela, but claimed that he won. And so he is now putting in jail protesters, those who are in opposition. He's not listening to anybody. European countries do not acknowledge him as the winner. Gonzalez is the winner, and so he actually was seeking political asylum in Spain. So he's there currently. Now his partner is still there in Venezuela and is being targeted. So United States has imposed sanctions on 21 individuals aligned with Nicolas Maduro, including security forces and high-level officials, for their roles in undermining Venezuela's electoral process and repressing the Venezuelan people. Despite Gonzalez's election as president in July, Maduro continues to falsely claim victory and engage in widespread human rights abuses, including killings and mass detentions of protesters. The sanctions announced by the U.S. Treasury and State Department target those responsible for repressing democratic opposition. With these actions, the U.S. has now sanctioned 180 Venezuelan officials and imposed visa restrictions on nearly 2,000 individuals, reaffirming its commitment to holding Maduro's regime accountable and supporting democratic freedoms in Venezuela. The problem is here, economic sanctions is the only thing, historically speaking, that Maduro does respond to. Biden administration hasn't done it yet. Let's hope it will, because Maduro is very much pro-Putin. Putin helped him stay in power. Putin sent the mercenaries, Wagner Group, to physically help him stay in power in 2019. For that, the gold reserves from Venezuela were transported and now are currently in Russia. So that's the next thing. Trump administration, I don't see them do that. So that was the question in our briefing this morning, and so remains to be seen. Now, remember the story with cables, right? Where 99 or at least 90 to 99% of our connection, phone, internet, is dependent on those cables that are underwater cables, right? And so those critical data cables were played around with and were pretty much disconnected and damaged. And the connection suffered between Sweden and Lithuania, and also between Finland and Germany. I reported on 11/11, it's a good number, so I remember, that Russia was saying that NATO will start doing it. Certainly when they say they're projecting, and so the idea is that they messed around with that just a week later, because all of that happened on the weekend, and on the 18th of November, we found out about that. So investigators are examining the possibility that Chinese vessel, so all those cables are handled by a Chinese company that is employed by Russians. So Chinese vessel deliberately damaged 2 vital data cables by dragging its anchor for more than 100 miles. The investigation now focuses on whether Russian intelligence directed the ship's captain to carry out the act of sabotage, according to an exclusive report by the Wall Street Journal. The Kremlin has denied any involvement in the incident. If proven, this would mark the latest in a series of attacks on European infrastructure that law enforcement and intelligence agencies believe Moscow has orchestrated. In the response, Chinese Foreign Ministry reiterated Beijing's commitment to working with global partners to safeguard international submarine cables and infrastructure in line with international law. So, yada, yada, yada. Let's see what actually did happen, because it kind of quacks like a duck and certainly looks like a duck. Now, Lebanon ceasefire, I reviewed really in detail yesterday. It's in your newsletter. Again, go please read it. I also recorded a video on that. I covered it online and in our live stream last night as well. So Lebanon ceasefire went into effect at 4 a.m. local time. And so the UN Secretary General, who was on the left here, who was bowing to Putin, unforgettable, he says the ceasefire agreement in Lebanon represents the first ray of hope for peace in the regional war amidst the darkness of the last few months. So he said that in Lisbon, Portugal, where he was meeting with Portuguese leaders. Certainly, people started returning back home. It's a very happy atmosphere, if you will. 14 months of conflict, and now they're returning back home. The question is, how long will this last? And I really encourage you to read the details because there's so many things to pick up, and I kind of digested for you so you can build your opinion as to how stable this agreement is. Now, also, U.S. forces on November 26th, yesterday, struck Iranian-aligned militia groups in Syria in retaliation for fighters attacking American bases. So, U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, said in a post on X that they struck a weapons storage facility and that a battle damage assessment was underway to determine the impact of the strike. Okay, moving on. Stay with me. Taiwan. So China deployed military aircraft and ships to track and monitor U.S. Navy plane transiting the sensitive Taiwan Strait, again, also on November 26th. So Beijing said that the two nations continue to spar over self-ruled Taiwan. The U.S. Navy 7th Fleet said in a statement that P-8A maritime patrol aircraft flew through Straits international space in accordance with international law. So U.S. is monitoring, circling Taiwan. China doesn't like it, sends ships and aircraft to read what U.S. data says, pretty much. That's in English. All right. So lastly, to finish sort of on a happier note, and to let you guess a couple of things here. Hey, Eliza, hello. Exactly why I canceled cable. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're talking about the misinformation. Okay. So to finish on a positive note, I have something that I was sent today and was pretty interesting. So real quick. Do you know that Secret Service has different names for all presidents, but also first ladies? You know it, right? They have secret names. Like if you watch The Crown, probably you know that in the UK they have bridges, right? They have the London Bridge, that's the king and all that kind of stuff. So they call themselves by bridges. Now we have secret names. What is working is that every president gets a letter with which that secret code name starts. And then the first lady has to choose from different names or different words, code words that U.S. Secret Service presents to them. And it has to start with the same letter as the president's code name, right? So it's a cat. The next one will be, cable. You know what I mean. So this is a quirky tradition, and I was sent this list, and it's really interesting. So it started with tradition began in reality with President Truman in 1945, and it continues today. So these names often reflect aspects of individuals' personalities or interests and are part of a broader system that helps agents communicate discreetly. Below are 11 first ladies and their fascinating Secret Service code names, along with those of their husbands. So we say 1945, but actually it kind of started before. So Edith Wilson was only 43 years old, and of course was the wife of Woodrow Wilson, and so who was just 15 years older than her, but her code name was Grandma, and his code name was Cliff. At that point, they didn't have to share the same letter. So, but then when it goes to later times, for instance, President Roosevelt, his code name was Brass, and Eleanor Roosevelt was Rower, because it was reflecting her travels and work with American troops during World War II. Now, Bess Truman, of course, Harry Truman's wife, her name was Sunnyside, or code name, and his was Superwise. Then Jackie Kennedy was Lace, to speak to her like the way she wants to dress and elegance and all that kind of stuff. And then Kennedy's was Lancer, which certainly Sir Lancelot, like that's the whole idea with the Camelot and stuff, mythology. Then Rosalind Carter was Dancer, and President Jimmy Carter was Deacon. Of course, referring to his religious faith that it was strong and her love for dancing. Nancy Reagan was called Rainbow, and President Ronald Reagan was Rawhide. So Rainbow was chosen perhaps to reflect her vibrant personality, and his name was reflecting his past as a Western movie actor. Now, Hillary Clinton was Evergreen, and Bill Clinton was Eagle. Hillary Clinton's code name Evergreen was likely chosen to reflect her enduring presence in politics. Her husband, Bill Clinton, was assigned the code name Eagle, possibly as nod to his status as an Eagle Scout. Laura Bush was Tempo because of her temperament. And George W. Bush was Trailblazer. But then he was actually having a code name as a kid because of his father. So so he was a Tumbler, had a code name Tumbler when he was a kid in his father's administration. Now it gets interesting. Michelle Obama is Renaissance, and Barack Obama is Renegade. And they chose those names, by the way. They wanted to reflect their personality. Rower, yeah. Dancer, yeah, is perfect. Tempo. And he's Tumblr. I wish they kept it for George W. Bush till the end, like the Tumblr. Remember that story with the, what was it, pretzel, where he triple? Bush 2 should be dunce. Yeah. Okay, so Melania Trump, and this is now interesting. Guess what her name was? Well, I'm going to give it Muse. Now, guess what Trump chose for his code name, which again will be repeated this time again. So she's a Muse. He starts with an M. Think about it. Okay, while you think about it, Jill Biden's name is Capri, and President Biden's is Celtic. Jill Biden's code name Capri is likely a nod to her Italian heritage, and President Joe Biden chose his name to be Celtic, reflecting his Irish roots. So think about what Trump's this MAGA. That's a good one, Eliza. It should be. Yes. No. It's actually Mogul. He chose his name as Mogul. And so she's a Muse. Muse and Mogul. McDonald's. Yeah, that's a good one. Should have been. Megalomaniac. That's true. That's a good one. That is a good one. Maybe he should just choose MAGA. But it's very if they talk about MAGA, certainly everybody knows they're talking about them. So those code names are more than just a quirky tradition. They're part of intricate system the Secret Service uses to keep the first family safe and secure, all while adding a bit of intrigue to their lives of the nation's most public figures. So I put that in your newsletter if you want to share it, or for kicks and giggles. Now, last two videos to finish on a good note, because it's Thanksgiving. So folks at the actual and real International Space Station are wishing us very happy Thanksgiving, and they're showing what their feast is looking like. So take a look.
Greetings from the International Space Station. Our crew up here just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to all our friends and family who are down on Earth and everyone who is supporting us.
Thanksgiving is typically a holiday where family and friends get together. Sometimes that can't happen to physically be around each other, but today's age, you can virtually tie in to your family and friends.
And one of those big traditions is having a Thanksgiving meal together. And so we're going to celebrate that tradition up here, though our meal may look a little bit different. Don, if you hold the mic. So we've got a container here of all the things that we're going to enjoy on Thanksgiving. It is a feast. Let me see. We've got Brussels
sardines,
Brussels sprouts, butternut squash, apples and spice,
smoked turkey.
and smoked turkey. It's going to be delicious.
It's true we have much to be thankful for. On a professional sense, I mean, there's not many places that you can be that you can actually lay on the ceiling, and this is one of them. We're thankful for zero gravity. It's fantastic. And of course, in a personal sense, our family, our friends, those that are lifting up prayers for us and have been, we're grateful for that. We're grateful for a nation that is a spacefaring nation that lets us live free, say what we think is important to say, and so many other things. So much to be thankful for in this season. To be reminded of that, to have a holiday that celebrates that, that's something to be thankful for as well. And so from all of us on the International Space Station,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, listen, I'd be also happy if I were in space for the next 4 years. I'll be like, hey, keep me. You know, when this happened, when there were, I think it was one astronaut who was in space for half a year and nobody returned him back to Earth because Soviet Union fell apart. And so he has been just circling the Earth and nobody would even bother to get him back. So that's a real story. I think there's a movie even about it. So now this is a treat. It's a 22-second treat. This is our multi-talented Secretary of Transportation, which I hope to be, he will be at some point our president. Of course, Pete Buttigieg. Enjoy. No, he does. He does. You want to watch again? I want to watch it again. Let's do one more. Just 22 seconds. Come on. I watched it like 10 times. Yeah, Janetta. Yeah, Charlie Brown dancing. Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, Lisa says, aside from women, is there anything he won't do? Listen, I leave it up to him, but he certainly is a great character. But it's true though, Lisa. Yes, absolutely. Very good video. It's in your newsletter, so you can download it and watch it as many times as I probably did. No disclosure. So I'm going to see you tomorrow morning for some news in the morning. And then tomorrow night, do your dinner and everything, and we all have a good time. And then Friday, we're back morning and evening for live streams. Now, newsletters will be, you made me laugh, Lisa. Yes, you did. I was cracking up about the hair and the space station. We have a thing in the comments going on. So if you're not reading comments, you're missing out because the comments are almost even more entertaining than whatever I'm delivering here. So if you're on Twitter, go on YouTube, check the comments because this is hot here. Very funny. Okay. Newsletter is in your inbox. Go check it out. It's there. honest.substack.com. If you decide to support, I'm grateful for you. But please go sign up. App is coming. You call it actual news. You guys chose it. It's going to be called that way. So everybody who's on the newsletter will get the invite. Okay. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to see you for actual news, and the newsletter will be coming tomorrow afternoon. And then Friday, we're back to normal schedule. And Saturday, Sunday, we're off as per usual. Okay. All right, guys, have a happy Thanksgiving. Have a peaceful night. If you don't catch me tomorrow morning, I wish you a blessed time together with your loved ones. Take the day off. Do whatever you want to do. Don't hurt others. Don't hurt yourself, but please spend quality time, whatever that looks like, whatever that is, in your vision. But please take the time for you. Shut down the news. Just, it's not important. Take time for your loved ones and you. Okay? All right. So thank you so much for being here. Happy Thanksgiving. I am grateful for you, first and foremost, because you make all of this worth doing. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting and watching and reading and subscribing and sharing and tweeting and everything. So thank you. I am grateful for you. Deeply, deeply grateful. All right. Have a wonderful night. And once again, happy holiday. See you tomorrow.